Natasha.
Debbie.
Show.
The show.
Welcome to it. Just two patriotic girls.
Learning about the world.
So please, don't take us the wrong way. So, I was just in our backyard thinking about bringing in a plant for this video. Not a plant, but like a weed or something for the video. And then I got scared. I'm like, I don't know what that is.
You didn't want to touch it, did you?
No, I got scared. Debbie knows I'm terrified of poison ivy because I had it once in my life and it was there for like ever. And it was horrible. My legs, both my legs were covered in it.
Now, I've had poison ivy and I'm still not scared to go out there and rip stuff up. So you're terrified of it, and I still don't know what it really looks like. So
who's surprised she's not scared and I am? No one. No one. But anyway, today's video is something that is perfect for this season. You know, the weather's warm. Allergies are brewing.
They sure are. Everything's growing out there.
Yeah. And so this one's called the Top 10 Most Poisonous Plants in the UK. And then it says, this could save your life.
Things we need to know if we come over there.
Yeah, and maybe you don't know. So we're going to watch this together and see what we see. I'll be curious to know if there's any plants that we maybe have heard of before.
Yeah, I wonder if we have any in common.
Yeah, I know we have poison hemlock in common, which for us is the most poisonous plant in our country.
Yep.
But I'm just curious to know and see what these are and
And let us know how common they are.
Yeah, and if you've learned something from this. But let's watch together. Again, this could save your life. The top 10 most poisonous plants in the United Kingdom.
Hi guys, it's Nick here from Hidden Valley Bushcraft, and today we are going to be talking about Britain's 10 most poisonous or deadly plants. My first one, I found giant hogweed. Now the giant hogweed, Heracleum mantigazanum, okay,
good old
is
Latin.
Not natural to the UK. Okay, so I'm just trying to gain access down to a bit of riverbank without going swimming. And here I have in front of me, look at the size of this.
Oh,
it's a monster.
Guys, I'm just under 6 foot and this thing is already getting on for a good couple of feet above me. Now, what's interesting about this particular one behind me, and I'm going to show you another one so that we can talk about their identifying features, is purely down to its incredible size. And you can see the umbelliferous head, because this is in the same family as the carrot, the parsnip, sweet Cicely, angelica, and some of the other ones we're going to cover today. Okay, this is in the Apiaceae family and is a monster. Just look at the thickness next to my hand of this stem. This is absolutely massive. If this is left, this will go on to get up to reportedly 5.5 meters tall. And this particular type of hogweed, it has purple colorations on the stem, and usually much more than this. There's this purple mottling effect against the light green that you see.
Ew.
The leaves are quite aggressively jagged, and I'm wearing gloves, and rightly so, because
I'm sorry, but shouldn't he have long sleeves on? I mean, he's kind of freaking me out. He just keeps waving his arms around. I'm like, oh, shit.
He almost got close to his face from one point with his hands. I'm like, stop talking with your hands, man.
You have gloves on, have long sleeves.
the sap from this will cause absolutely horrendous blistering and burning. It'll make your skin photosensitive. That means anytime you're out in sunlight and your skin is not covered, you could be in big trouble. If you do suspect that you've brushed up against this stuff, or it's been crushed and you've somehow come into contact with it, what you want to be doing is covering that skin from daylight straight away and heading off to A&E to get checked out. The next thing you want to do, tell your local council. Now, to try and give you an idea, I'm going to escape this little garden area.
This is freaking me out.
I'm going to show you a regular...
Hold on. So when I found out you guys didn't have poison ivy, I was all excited. Like, sweet. I'm going to come run through your fields with no care. You only have the one poisonous snake, right? Which most of you said you've never even seen before. So I was all like, freedom. I don't know what that's like in America. We have so much crap that'll poison us snake-wise and, you know, plant-wise. Now I know that's never going to happen. I can't run and frolic through any field with carefree life. But again, I don't know how common this is. But it doesn't look like it's that hard to find at the same time. So let's keep watching and find out.
Sure as heck don't want to run into it.
No. I think I'd noticed that one, though. It's towering over me.
Hogweed. Okay, so here's a regular hogweed growing in a garden.
So this one's okay. Okay. Don't touch it.
Okay, so here you see a very similar leaf pattern, much smaller, stem, green.
Just start etching this down.
None of that purple coloration happening there. Here we are down by the riverbank, and I have got an example there, that purple mottling on the stem. And this thing is absolutely gigantic.
Huh.
Yeah.
So we are back now here at the HVB main camp, and we're just going to whiz round our section of the riverbank next to show you our next plant. If you were perhaps taking up wild swimming or getting into wild swimming and you weren't aware of this, this is why I'm making this part of the video.
Oh, crap.
The plant I'm about to show you is rather benign looking. It doesn't have any special coloration which is going to tip you off or indicate that it's especially poisonous in any way, shape or form, and that's what's so dangerous about it. Okay guys, so what I'm going to show you now
is
hemlock water drop wort, okay, and its Latin is Oenanthia crocata. Now this is especially lethal because it contains a cocktail of about several different types of alkaloid, which unlike an alcohol is not recognised by your body's own renal system. So you can't break it down, you don't have the tool set. If you get any of the sap from this plant here in your bloodstream, perhaps if you were mowing or strimming down by a riverbank and you got some of the sap in your eye and you didn't have goggles on, okay, that could actually get ingested. That's going to be not good news for you. This will literally kill in about 3 hours, start to finish, with no cure. You definitely don't want to go ahead and eat it and ingest it that way. It's also lethal to animals. It's in every single ditch, wet waterway, dried up riverbed, streams, estuaries.
So it's a little different than the other hemlock. Is there a hemlock that's not poisonous?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm sure there is, but or maybe not. I ain't going swimming in the UK in some random place like that now.
Yeah, don't go in wet bank river areas, no wild swimming, dry ditches. So just don't go anywhere.
Here in the UK, it's been around for an awful long time. Its identifying features, when we look closely, to me it looks rather like celery stalks with a parsley leaf. You'll see what I mean. So very benign looking.
Oh, okay.
Straight green stems coming up, always with its feet
have like a
in
parsley
water.
leaf.
Yeah,
very parsley looking leaf structure, which is rather apt because it is in fact in the parsley family. So we look at the umbels again, it's going on to create those umbrella type flowers, and if we look on the other side of the riverbank here, you'll see many of them coming into bloom already.
Yeah.
Now the big danger obviously if you're wild swimming and you're climbing in and out of the water, okay, you might even use a handful of this to pull yourself out of the riverbank. That would be a big no-no. So guys, if you're into wild swimming or if your kids are playing on the riverbanks, have a good look around for this first.
Keep your eyes open, guys.
Identify it, just tell them to stay clear of it. It's as simple as that. One of the 2 types of hemlock I'm going to show you today, because the next one is going to be hemlock as well. One of these 2 was actually used to kill Socrates, the ancient playwright.
That's the poison hemlock.
We only know,
the next one,
as we leave this stuff here, we only know of what he went through because he chose to have a scribe at his bedside. Okay, and there were feelings of euphoria and then massive fitting, dizziness, and he died completely locked on, cramped up really tight. And so that's where it's thought the expression comes from, the sardonic smile, as in he looked at me with a sardonic smile.
I didn't know that.
I'm going to keep.
So before he shows it, this is you're about to see the same plant that you have there is the most poisonous plant here.
Saying this the whole way through the video, if you're interacting in the outdoors or you're just getting into the outdoors, this information could quite possibly save a life.
Well, I don't think I've ever seen this
now on the hunt for
person that I know of.
Hemlock.
Now I'm going to keep my eyes open too.
The way this stuff grows and what we tend to teach here and the groups we work with, we've done our very best to dig out most of the hemlock that we can. Just as I come into here, you can see it's a bit like Land of the Triffids. And just in this top part of the field is this deadly hemlock of which I just spoke about. And this one is different. This one's Conium maculatum. So we're going to have a closer look at its identifying features. This one also contains that horrendous cocktail of chemicals. So I'm going to pick one of the larger, more established ones.
It's bothering you, isn't it?
As it's showing much more of the more typical growth habits you'd expect to see. Now in terms of height, this is already taller than I am, but it's not going to get much further than this. We're going to start to see these umbelliferous heads once again. If you look closely, you'll see the purple coloration on the stem and that purple mottling, which is very similar to the giant hogweed that I showed you just before, and also quite clearly says, don't come near me, don't touch me. Can you see that purple all the way along here?
You gotta get
now when we look at the
to
leaf structure, the leaves are very fine. much.
Now, if you don't know, poison ivy and poison oak, all that stuff has a purple stem here as well. So that's why we know don't go near it. But I wouldn't be looking that closely to examine it.
You gotta get right up on top of it to see it.
How uncomfortable is he making you? Because I see you
Very, because he should have sleeves.
Or, you shouldn't even be in there.
I don't know. Some kind of protective
It's more the
gear.
sort of arrangement that you'd expect to see on the carrot or the wild carrot.
Yeah.
But this often gets mistaken for cow's parsley. Again, absolutely lethal and would probably kill in about 3 hours with no cure known to us at the moment. So again, guys, if you are interacting in the outdoors, if you're out on a dog walk, if you're hiking, if the dog runs into a patch of this and your children are following them in, things to think about, guys. So there we go. So that was Conia maculatum hemlock. On to our next deadly plant. Okay, so for plant number 4, I have travelled all the way across the village to see some of our friends who have the most incredible ornamental garden, and that's because it was really tricky to find a working example. And what I have down here is known as monk's hood or wolf's bane. This is aconite. Okay, this is more likely to be aconite carmichael, or aconite napellus is the wild version. And what we're talking about here is this plant. As you can see, the leaf structure and the leaf shape is incredibly toxic. Okay, and this is actually a contact poison. This is why I've got the gloves on for this video. This little plant has had many different names throughout history. The most notable one is monk's hood, because when it comes into flower later this year, you'll see this drooping hood, very much like the veiled hood of a monk, and it'll be a deep royal blue, almost purpley royal blue colour. But it's the leaf structure you really want to be taking a heed of and keeping the kids away from. It's dark green. I mean, it's only literally up to pretty much just above my knee here, and it grows in clusters like this, and it almost has a multiple belled flower effect, and you see many of them drooping in a stand together. You can find this in wild patches of land. Sometimes you'll find it on the edge of beacon breckens and places like that here in the UK. Steer well clear, guys. Okay, so
cross
just
off list of travel plans
with a bare hand on the skin. Okay, it's a contact poison that will go in, and you can get yourself into a lot of trouble. You certainly don't want to get any of this into a cut, and you definitely don't want to ingest any of this, because this can be fatal. There is actually
I'm not eating any wild plants.
No, I'm not going to go out and eat plants, but I've unfortunately done this before, where I've been cleaning out the weeds in the garden, the flower bed, and thought, oh, that's pretty. The leaves look nice. So I left it grow. And as it got taller and taller, I realized it was a weed. Now, that was something I would have left there thinking, oh, it's a pretty little flower.
Well, yeah, you're right. I see what you're saying.
Especially when it gets the purple monkhood flower on it. I've been like, oh, that's cute.
Actually, another one. So number 5 we're going to go to is also in this walled garden. And it might be that you're out with the family, you know, interacting, and you're in one of these beautiful establishments like this, and one of the kids reaches out and touches something. This is number 5, and also found growing in the wild, but an awful lot more in people's gardens specifically, is this euphorbia next to me here. Now, there are a number of different types. This is also known as a spurge. You can get a wood spurge, a sun spurge. There's many different variants. The one I tend to see is euphorbia magdaloides. But the way that this can damage you quite badly, again, is because it contains an incredibly caustic sap, which will cause really bad burns if it's knocked. So you can see on the edge of this little stone steps here, if you maybe had a toddler playing here or something like that, and they were to snap, and they do snap relatively easy. If you were to snap this stuff here, you can see this milky sap coming out. Okay, and I've got permission to damage this one today. I was just going to say,
and you can see
that milky sap there. Okay, and that milky sap is incredibly, I'm going to get some on my gloves so you can see it, incredibly caustic. Okay, this stuff really burns. Now, what this was actually used for in ancient times is you might go to the apothecary. I can never say it. Apothecary.
Good job.
Apothecary.
You go see the doc, okay, back in the day, and you might have a boil or a wart or something on your skin, and they'd give you a solution of this
burn it off?
to burn it off. Okay, that's how badly this stuff can burn you. It's normally a 2-part deal. In the first part of its life, it grows, it's just got this small head like this, and again, this one's going to get broken off soon.
I would not.
You can see that white sap oozing out of there. And then in the second part of its life, it'll start to push out a flower head or something similar to this. Now, there's many variants of this, and as I look around this garden, I've actually seen a couple of different types, but it's one to watch. Okay, anything that's got that milky poison.
Well, how do you know unless you go out there and rip it in half? And then it's like, no, mine was fine. Thanks, man. Now I just killed my plant.
I'm going to go around and snap everybody's plants in half. Are you milky?
I would do that if I came to if I come to your place in the United Kingdom, and we're no horticulturists.
No.
I don't think I said that right. So I have no clue, besides the one I mentioned, what plants we share with you in this video, if at all. But I'm coming over there, and if I see anything that looks like this, I'm gonna be like, hang on, I gotta snap this in half real quick.
When is it purple, and now I gotta snap it in half?
I gotta rub this on Debbie, make sure it's okay.
I'll make sure I have my long sleeves on.
And then I'll be like, want to go swimming? I'm freaking out now when I know I should calm down. I hope nobody on here is freaking out. Like, wait a minute, that's my garden. Don't get mad at us if you go back there and you rip one of these open and it's like...
Just be safe.
Yeah, just, be safe.
That's right.
Dick sap is a big one to avoid, guys. Let's move on then to number 6.
They are really pretty though. Splurge.
Okay, this next one, I've literally just pulled over and I'm hoping many Britons will be able to identify.
Is that the pretty red
okay,
thing?
so literally, let's put the handbrake on. This one here
it is the pretty
in fact the foxglove, and you can see the arrangement. So there is this tall stemmed or tall bodied plant with this arrangement of beautifully coloured little pinky purpley bells. Okay, and you'll quite often find bees hiding up inside here as well. Now what's particularly interesting in this particular plant is if I was to pick a leaf, okay, this isn't so much a contact poison. Okay. As I've spoken about this one in the past when I've talked about primrose, okay, and its ability when it's young to look a little bit like a primrose if you are new to foraging. So what this does, digitalis purpureum, is it is an inhibitor. The chemicals inside this inhibit the brain's message to the heart to continue beating. And it has actually had a place in medicine historically, and some of the organic chemical components in this have in fact been synthetically reproduced and are still used today as a digitoxin in certain medicine for people with heart issues. That said, this wild variant out here shouldn't be touched, ingested, chewed on, or gone near. Just leave it as a pretty looking plant.
As he touches it and throws it away.
Okay? It's mega common. It's everywhere here in the British Isles and the UK. I'd love to hear if you know of any more of it growing around the world, what colour variants you have. If you know this plant, okay, we know it as foxgloves. Let us know in the box. And on that note, if you're new to the channel, I'm Nick Goldsmith from Hidden Valley Bushcraft, and today I'm taking you guys through my top 10 deadly or poisonous plants here in the UK. Let's head on over to plant number 7.
Okay.
Let's go.
This is fascinating though.
Here's another great example of what I was just showing you guys with the foxglove, but I wanted to come here and show you this more established plant so that we can learn to recognise what the leaves look like. So the leaves themselves are very lanceolate and pointed. They've always got a point on the tip or on the end, and a raised prominent vein on the back that you can see on show there. Now what's particularly interesting is these veins that come off the sides here, they don't come off very horizontally, they're much more in line with that primary vein. Okay, so they're arranged much more vertically than say something like the primrose. And here's a great example. You can see the colour is very similar to that of a young primrose coming through. So this is a foxglove. That's what I've just showed you. Okay, so this is just a leaf in its lighter colour. And then right next to it here is a perfectly edible little piece of primrose. So you can kind of see, because they share that tone, and it also has a raised rib, how you could get this wrong. Now the difference with the primrose is that these veins are arranged much more horizontally going away from the plant, whereas if we have a look at the back of
That's interesting, but I would not know the difference unless I was looking at one and looking at the other. I would not be able to actually
But again, he's talking about ingesting this, and it's not a, he originally said it wasn't a contact poison.
Right.
And he touched it the first time without his glove on. But he's talking about ingesting it. I'm not eating any of this. So for me, I'm like, I'm just not going to.
Well, you might be wild swimming and going out in the forest.
No, not now.
Forest and foraging.
Stay away from the hemlock.
This one, you can see they go much more in line. If I put the two together to show you, you can see the difference there. Okay, so on the left-hand side is the primrose. On the right-hand side is the
pointy stuff is just never safe,
and
things with big
coming away and then going much more in line, whereas these ones are going much more horizontally. The primrose will never have a point; it's always a blunted or rounded tip.
I'll remember that.
The thing that catches people out when they're learning to forage is this colour. readily grabbing away at young primrose leaves and can get that wrong, and that could be a deadly mistake to make.
Yeah.
We're in the woodland now, and now we're thinking much more of in a sort of nursery, woodland, kindergarten context, and that being something that I have a bit of experience in. So there are of course things that you're going to come into contact with down here in the woods. The children are interacting and playing with all the time, and it's about monitoring that, helping them to identify and learn about these things from a young age, and really putting them in good stead moving forward. So if you are out for a day in the woods with the family, this is the sort of thing you're going to want to be looking out for. Okay, so here's a prime example.
Before he goes though, anybody recognize these woods? Probably not, but this is beautiful. It's very, very pretty.
Down through the woodland on a little path here, and never much more than a couple of feet to the left or the right, I might start to come across something like this.
What?
Okay guys, so this is Arum immaculatum, or lords and ladies, also known as the cuckoo pipe plant. And what's particularly interesting about this, and it's lobed, if you look, it's sort of a lanceolate pointy shape, and it's lobes here.
That's weird.
It doesn't really grow very high off the floor. That's not to say that it's not got some danger about it, but in particular in the later stages, and you can see this leaf is somewhat past its best, it starts to grow this little stem with these seeds. Now these seeds will start to go a sort of an orange colour, bright orange colour, as they kind of emerge from these seed pods. These are, for some reason, extremely inviting and enticing to small children who are wandering up something like a path like this. Obviously you've got a bench there, you might sit down as a family, have a picnic or whatever. So just be wary guys, okay? So keep them away from this. I mean, it does look a little bit, to a child, a bit like green sweet corn, so one to watch out for. Now this, if ingested, much more of a sort of stinging, burning sensation, contains...
Did you not see what he just did?
No.
Watch. That just freaked me out.
If ingested, much more of a sort of stinging,
Wipe
burning...
his nose.
With his gloves, he's been touching all these plants, and I'm like, this is how I would do this. I'd be touching all the contact poison ones and going,
well, maybe he's changing his gloves in between.
I'm going to go with no.
And we don't see it.
Sensation, contains calcium oxalate crystals that block the pores on your kidneys. All round, it's a nasty, nasty. If you do manage to ingest any of this, you won't ingest a lot of it because it's just an instant reaction of no, absolutely no. A bit like you drop your sandwich in the sand on a day at the beach, you'll know what I'm on about, that gritty under your teeth. Definitely avoid at all costs.
Done.
So that's Arum maculatum, lords and ladies.
Got it.
No green corn.
Another common face to many of our woodlands here in Britain.
To me, it's just a green raspberry.
Now this is dog's mercury, also known as Mercularis perennis. This is in fact quite toxic.
Really?
Should definitely not be ingested. It's not so much of a, if you touch it, you're going to be poisoned type of thing.
I was just going to say, I'm noticing most of these are not contact poisons like we have a lot of those here, which makes me calm down a lot more. Good to know. Okay. But I still want to know. And I'd still walk away from it.
But it's much more of a, you definitely don't want to get involved with it or ingest any. And because it's so close to the edge, growing quite often in many of our woodlands, it's all too easy for a small person to be picking away at this, rubbing it in their fingers, and then perhaps put their fingers in their mouth. So one to keep an eye out for, mums and dads. If we have a little closer look, you should see it has like a little flower spike, but I think that is pretty much almost done with. There's one here, you can just make out that small spike on top. Okay, but it's a leaf arrangement. And it is only about 30 centimeters off the floor, and it's always densely bunched in like this. Another little fact about dog's mercury is it is in fact semi-ancient woodland indicator for most parts of the UK. There we go. That's what's that now? 8. 2 more to go. Right, we're going to head over to a farm, and I'm going to show you the last couple. So guys, I'm up here on a working farm here in the UK. I've come here because it's usually actually in the direct area around on the outskirts of the farmyard that you're going to find all kinds of escaped plant species and things that have come in off of tyres of perhaps some of the machinery that's being used here and kind of escaped into nearby bushes and hedges. Now, right next to me is in fact another deadly plant. Okay, this is number 9, and this is Atropa belladonna, which is deadly nightshade.
Yep, I was going to say that one. When we look
at the deadly nightshade, it looks rather disarming. And when we take a closer look,
the berries,
we start to see these purple flowers with these
Flower
little
berries.
yellow bits in the middle coming through, and the actual leaf pattern itself is quite distinctive. You can kind of see that kind of pointed arrowhead with these 2 little lobes down near the bottom here. There's Enchanter's nightshade. There's a whole bunch of nightshades. If it looks remotely or can be mixed up with something else, don't risk it. So this has actually been used in the past, form of a tincture for ladies, and we're talking hundreds of years ago, used to give themselves eye drops of this stuff to dilate the pupils of their eyes and make them more attractive.
Really?
Oh.
Why you'd want to do that, I don't know. It goes on to produce these lovely little clusters of blackberries. Obviously, these are highly attractable to young children, especially if you've been teaching your kids about blackberry eating and, you know, sort of thing. And every year there are reported cases of poisoning with this stuff. Highly, highly toxic and potentially fatal. So
watch out for that
number
one.
9, and that is
Absolutely.
Tropa belladonna, deadly nightshade. So this is ragwort. Now ragwort's a bit of a nightmare, and you can get different types, okay, and you can get different types of leaf that come on here, but essentially it's a yellow flower that opens out, and you'll see these arranged all the way throughout the field. You can actually absorb it through your skin, so make sure you're wearing gloves. It's also dangerous to livestock. Now, what's interesting is it's not so much while it's wet and green like this, but when it's been dried up and it's found its way into dried food for animals later on or the next year. By dried weight, it's more potent because it hasn't got the moisture for the animal to be able to dilute it and break it down so much, because this becomes really quite deadly.
Okay,
so this is Senecio jacobea ragwort. It's everywhere. Certainly any farmer will be able to tell you about this and to avoid it. I'd say that's my top 10 things that you are most commonly going to come into contact with here in the British outdoors.
Well, thank you, sir. Okay, wow. I'm not gonna lie, that was incredibly fascinating to me.
It was fascinating, a little terrifying. Definitely scared me not having those sleeves on, but you know, hey, he knows what he's doing.
I trust him. I do, but I decided now that I'm only gonna go like frolic around in the field with this guy.
That's a good idea. We'll take him with us.
We'll just put him in front of us like a human shield, like kidding.
Can we go there?
I'm actually not nearly as nervous as I was, because it seems like like I said earlier, a lot of these are, you know, if you touch them, you're okay. It's more like if you eat them, ingest them, or anything like that, you're gonna have a problem. So thankfully, now there are some, of course, on those lists that you do touch, you're in trouble.
Oh, definitely.
But again, I don't think we would be in a place where we're gonna.
Not necessarily, but I mean, it's great to know because, like you said, these are the 10 most common ones that we would run into.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to know that there are so many out there, because we really didn't think there was that many over there.
Well, I mean, we know there's more than that. That's just the TIS top 10.
Right.
So let us know what, like, again, first of all, do you have any of these in your gardens? Do you see them often when you're out and about? You know, did you learn something here? We'd love to know if you did or not. And what was that one plant? I can't remember what it was called now, where you like have to keep ripping it open, like essentially to see the milky stuff.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of that one either.
But that one was interesting.
Watch out for the milky sap.
Yeah, pretty much.
And purple stems.
But I really did enjoy watching it. I mean, I'm not going to be like freaked out, like I said, but you know, I did think that there was really not much of anything there that would be a problem. Now I know that's not true. There are stuff I need to be aware and not just rolling around like an idiot.
Exactly.
You know.
And guys, don't forget, we'll be back tomorrow for Magic Monday.
Hopefully you'll be back too. As always, love, like, jazz.
Be as strong as Tyson.
See you tomorrow, guys.
Bye.
Bye.